On the cold northern sea, where thick fog hugs the dark blue water and harsh winds whip the hulls of ships, resilient people still work hard every day to make a living amidst the storms. They are cod fishermen, silent warriors of the ocean, carrying within him the blood of bravery, courage and strong faith in the generosity of the sea. Each trip to sea is not simply a journey of labor, but also a fierce and unpredictable battle for survival with nature. The ocean door opens. Each wave of white caps carries the familiar salty taste, signaling that before them is another long journey full of challenges but also full of hope. The sky is just dawning, when the mainland is still immersed in silence. Giant cod fishing boats have left the port, rushing towards the gray horizon. Under the flickering yellow light on the deck, the hard-working figures of the fishermen are busy preparing the machinery, checking each coil of wire, each giant net, each large hook. Everything must work in harmony, matching each other down to the smallest detail, because just one mistake can cause the loss of the entire net worth tens of thousands of dollars. The ship cuts through the waves and goes deep into the cold water, which is considered the mysterious kingdom of cod, a rare, nutritious white fish that brings huge income to the global seafood industry. The fishermen clearly understand that, in order to catch cod, they must endure the bone-chilling cold. And the high waves like vertical walls of water threatening the ship. However, their faces still shine with strong faith, because every bumper season at sea means a season of prosperity for their families, which is the motivation for them to go out to sea despite the lurking dangers. From the young fishermen who are taking their first boat out to sea, to the experienced veterans with sunburned faces and sad eyes who have witnessed countless lives lost at sea. Everyone silently understands that cod fishing is a harsh game, requiring intelligence, strength and extraordinary perseverance. The rhythm of life on board begins very early. The roaring sound of the engine, the sound of metal hitting the deck, the grinding sound of the winch pulling each kilometer-long rope, mixed with the sound of the wind whistling through the sails, creates a lively and tense melody of the ocean. The fishermen wear thick coats, proof hats, and rubber gloves, moving back and forth quickly like hard-working bees. The nets are dropped in long sections, sinking into the cold, deep water more than 100 meters below the sea surface, where the cod often move to feed according to the currents. Waiting for the right moment, when the sonar signals that a school of fish is circling, the group will coordinate to pull the net, pulling the white monsters, weighing from 3 to 12 kilograms to the surface in extreme joy. Each haul is a beautiful and heroic scene, each cod with a long, shiny body, smooth skin, and a silvery white belly typical of the North Atlantic, thrashing wildly in the air before falling into the hold, accompanied by the bustling cheers of the fishermen. The entire deck quickly turns into a slippery stage of seawater. Fish scales and blood. Their hands never rest. They have to quickly sort the fish by size, put them in giant ice tanks to keep them absolutely fresh. On the other side, the preliminary processing team even guts the fish, cleans the intestines and cuts off the heads right on the ship, packages them and freezes them immediately at sub-zero temperatures to be transported back to the mainland in time after weeks at sea. The professionalism, agility, and precision like a miniature production line in the middle of the ocean makes anyone who witnesses it admire. The wind began to pick up. The ship was rocking with each big wave. But the men on deck still worked tirelessly. Some stood at the stern of the ship controlling the hydraulic cable winch system. Some held on to the railing to pull each section of rope. Some shouted loudly to signal coordination. The whole space was filled with loud and enthusiastic shouts. They understood that just a moment of carelessness, a second of lapse in concentration would be enough for an accident to happen, causing the tow rope to spring back, the iron hook to fly into the air and knock down anyone standing nearby. Therefore, concentration and coordination among the fishermen were essential, like a battle-hardened army that had trained together for many years. Below the ship's hold, the atmosphere was equally bustling. The refrigeration machines worked at full capacity day and night, humming like a sigh from the giant iron ship. Large ice boxes filled with fresh cod were stacked on top of each other. Clearly noting each day of fishing, they check the ice content, ensuring that the temperature is always maintained at the right level so that the fish meat retains its characteristic whiteness, crispness and fatty aroma. Some mechanics still quietly repair pipes, check engine oil, and watch over electronic devices for hydroacoustic detections so that the fishing journey is not hindered. Each position is a link in the rhythmic rotation, creating the formidable power of modern industrial fishing at sea. The sun climbs over the horizon. The flickering light reflects on the cold sea surface, creating a magical shimmering streak. On the deck, a few fishermen take advantage of the rare break, leaning against a wooden barrel, hastily slurping a bowl of hot noodles or sipping a cup of steaming black coffee. Their mouths are still white from the cold. Their eyes are heavy from lack of sleep, but they still shine with confidence and pride. Someone tells a humorous story about the times they caught a giant octopus in their net, making the whole group scream. Others recall last year's sea season, when the weather was favorable, The codfish were so dense that there was no room to stand on the deck. The stories, though simple, were filled with camaraderie, helping them forget their hardships and giving them more motivation to continue the long journey ahead. Night at sea is always a magical and dangerous time. The cold wind blew on their faces. The surrounding space was pitch black. Only the yellow light from the deck flickered like fireflies in the deep night. Fishermen took turns standing on duty, observing the radar and sonar screens to detect signs of schools of cod swimming by. At the bottom of the sea, each flashing signal was the codfish quietly moving with the ocean currents. When they saw the chart suddenly jump, meaning the school of fish was right below, everyone immediately sounded the alarm, acted quickly, dropped the rope, lowered the net and prepared for a dramatic raid in the dark of night. The headlights swept across the water, illuminating every streak of white foam, making the scene both mysterious and brilliant, like a giant stage dedicated to brave workers. The nighttime fishing always brought a special feeling of excitement. When the rope began to stretch, the force gauge signal increased sharply. Everyone guessed that there was a large school below. The shouts of pull up, resounded. Everyone gathered their strength, their shoulders shaking from straining to pull the heavy rope from the deep world under the sea. When the net rose to the surface, hundreds of codfish struggled violently, splashing water, the silvery light of their bodies reflecting the headlights, creating an unforgettable scene, incredibly beautiful but also extremely harsh. A few fish regretful eyes of the fishermen. But no one had time to complain, because they immediately had to focus on pulling the remaining fish onto the boat. The night passed in the whistling winds and rumbling engines. When it was almost dawn, the exhausted men were changed shifts and returned to their small bedrooms inside the ship. The tiny bunk beds were packed close together, swaying with the waves, but as soon as they lay down, they fell into a deep sleep. Ignoring the ship continuing to rush towards the vast ocean ahead. Some hugged the radio to listen to news from the mainland. Others opened photos of their wives, children, and families to keep their spirits up during the month-long trip away from home. It was these quiet moments that made us understand that behind those strong figures and calloused faces was simple hearts, full of affection and hope for a day of reunion as the journey entered its third day. Rolled in, making the sky seem to dip close to the sea. Waves rose in waves, pounding against the ship's side, creating a fierce sound like the beating of war drums. But no matter how harsh the conditions were, the cod fishing work could not stop. The entire assembly line worked like a sleepless machine, because if there was even a moment's delay, the fish could move elsewhere, leaving the heavy ship and all the human an effort behind. In the control room above, the captain, a man in his 50s with a weathered face, a silver beard, and sharp blue eyes, attentively monitored the electronic map. The red streaks displayed on the screen were the cod's movements based on the tide forecast and water temperature. He made precise calculations down to the nautical mile to guide the ship to the area with the highest density of fish. In such moments, the captain's extensive experience was the guiding principle that determined the success or failure of the fishing trip. He shared with the crew every net-keeping tactic, every tip for dealing with strong currents, passing on valuable secrets that he had accumulated over more than 3 decades of drifting on the sea. The operations of throwing the net, pulling the rope, and sorting the fish were repeated over and over again like an endless cycle. Whenever the sky was clear, the fishermen took the opportunity to dry their clothes, soaked in seawater under the sun, and when the rain suddenly poured down, they put on another layer of thick raincoats, continuing to stand firm against the wrath of nature. Eating and drinking were also hurried. Their daily meals were often simple: white rice, canned fish, cold cuts, boiled vegetables, and a few slices of sandwiches, all prepared quickly in a small kitchen of only a few square meters. The chef on the ship not only cooks but also acts as a spirit spreader, bringing a little warmth in the bitter cold. A bowl of hot soup in the freezing rain can make everyone eat and feel happy as if they are returning home.